Hello and welcome to this webinar, Accessible Work with Multi-channel Communication. And today we have two great speakers here and I'm so happy. But I'm Riikka Marttinen and I work in a Finnish Diverse Learners Association. And with me is Mervi Ylitalo. Hello, Mervi.
Hello.
Louise.
Hi everybody, and it's a pleasure to meet you all. I'm delighted to be on this webinar with you. So as you know, my name is Louise Jones and I am the Director of Education, Community and Partnerships with ThingLink. And ThingLink is a fantastic tool. If you've never seen it before, you're going to learn all about it in my presentation. So would you like me to go straight on to my presentation, Riikka?
I think we could start with Mervi, and after that, I will give you your turn. But let's start with Mervi, and let me share my screen so that we can see Mervi's presentation. Just a minute. Okay.
Do you want to watch this with me? No?
Okay. Hey, please remember to put your microphone off so that, yes, and.
Okay. So my name is Mervi Ylitalo and nice to share my ideas and experience with ThingLink with all of you. Riikka and we have been working together in a project, and Riikka, who has been working with ThingLink already for 4 years, was very specialized in e-learning and using different kind of assistive technologies in our project. And Riikka and I worked well together and produced some very useful assistive tools for workplaces. And I will be presenting you some examples of those technologies and tools we used. And the point here with my presentation is that also the dialogue is very important when you start to produce or find possible and useful methods for people to communicate and to understand and to learn. So I am working as a project leader in Workers' Educational Association, WEA Finland, here in Helsinki. And we are an educational institution based on the values of labor movement, encouraging people to participate and influence the society. We contribute to national, Nordic and European project cooperation with the networks and expertise of trade unions. So we in WEA in Finland, we work very closely with the trade unions, and in our cooperation, we want to support and encourage workers for learning. And we bring together also with employees, the employers, schools, research institutes, as well as other beneficial interest groups. Thank you, Riikka. And then you might know Riikka from before. As she mentioned, she's working in the Finnish Diverse Learners Association. So the European Social Fund project that we ran 2017 to 2019, over 2 years, we started from the starting point that we realized that there was very little knowledge of the impact of learning difficulties in accomplishing diverse tasks at work. We had the experience, we had the understanding that these learning difficulties have an impact, but what kind of impacts? And we wanted to open up discussion and understanding for employers and learning institutions also, that these difficulties have to be approached and have to be discussed in a dialogue, so that we also find solutions to help and support all workers in this world of change in working life, because we all have to learn at work. We have this continuous learning demand today, as the working life is changing so rapidly, and the technology is moving forward so fast. So we need to help people to keep up with the change and technology and the development. So the project produced a toolkit of which includes information of the needs and the learning difficulties, as well as some solutions and assistive technologies, which are there as ThinkLink we are talking today more about. There are. And yes, please, the next. And this is the material you all can access to in the net, a toolkit with assistive solutions at work. We interviewed as well as the employers and the employees, their representatives, like learning representatives, healthcare, health representatives, and supervisors as well. And yeah, next slide, please. Here in this material, we collected all the information we have about learning difficulties and diverse learning needs among adults in working life. We interviewed and put together here in the material narratives of occurrence and impact at work from all these sides that I described, the employees and employers and the representatives of workers. And we give here in the material tips for identifying and addressing the problems in a respectful dialogue. And only if you manage to build dialogue between people who can supply support, but also with the people who have the needs for support. With this dialogue, you can actually produce some new ideas and find the links between need and support. And in order to find more information and understanding about the needs, we made a mapping survey at workplaces, which was anonymous, so that people didn't need to give their names or identify themselves with some learning difficulties, but they could. We got some information here that at a specific workplace, there might be 10 to 15% of employees who suffer from having to learn every day new technology, or have to use new technologies often at work. So this information was efficient already. 10 to 15% at one workplace acknowledged that yes, they would, some support or assistive tools would actually help them to be more efficient at work. Next slide, please. Thank you. So identifying the problems was very important. How do problems appear in everyday work? And we also put here some myth busters for learning disorders or difficulties. There is this understanding that, okay, if you are slow in your work, normally you wouldn't say that, okay, there must be some difficulty that needs some support, but we say that, okay, if you are slow, then you might be lazy, or just you don't know your profession well enough. Or a myth buster could be also that if you avoid some working tasks which demand reading or writing, then you are just also kind of escaping and being insufficient. But the reason might be that you are not able to face the difficulties or speak openly about the difficulties where you would actually need some help. Yes, and in this material we have put everything in a very clear impression, and using pictures and videos and like interviews from these people that we did. There are some videotapes also. Yeah, Riikka, next slide, please. So the solutions that we collected here in the material is the importance of communication and coherent guiding. And this came out from the questionnaires and survey that we did, that we produced in every workplace that participated in this project. So communicating and coherent guidance is important. With coherent guidance, we mean that the message or the information lines would go to those people who need that information, not to everybody, because it's confusing for the others that don't really need that guidance or information. So that was one notice that we made here with the employers. Also, cognitive ergonomics is important. Clear instructions. With job orientation, we can use ThingLink, for example, and other tips. And it's very important to address the problems that we have with our work. So with this open dialogue with the employer or with your representative, this open dialogue helps everybody to self-reflect on yourself. And the open dialogue also helps you to identify your maybe needs and to speak up openly about the problems. And the social dialogue between the employer and the employee is very important, so that the working the community, the whole working community is taking care of the good solutions that we need to find, so that it's equal and taking part, that everybody can take part in this development. So daring to address the problems is very essential. Thank you. There were 3 bigger companies that participated in our practices. The multi-service company SOL, it was one that actually put very much impact on this using ThingLink as well. A bus company Väinö Paunu, and a food bakery company Fazer, which you might have heard of, making chocolates, for example, make very good chocolates. Actually, we could go straight to the videos of the ThingLink solutions, Riikka.
Yes, Let me, yep, here and
but maybe the Väinö Pauno bus driver seat
yes.
example. So at the bus drivers in this bus company, they just stop there for a while. Thank you. Yeah, those bus drivers had a difficulty when they were sitting on their seat and starting to start their work, driving the bus. They tried to set the right position for their seat, so that they would sit straight ahead and feel comfortable, and the economics for driving would be the best. So the solution, the result was often that these seats got broken because the bus drivers couldn't see the instructions or the buttons that they should use in setting the seat right. And so because they couldn't see to the right or the left side of the seat. So we took, with ThingLink, we took this 360 picture of the driver's seat, and then we took a photograph of the buttons on the right and left side, and we gave some instructions. Here you can see instructions, what does every button work for. So, and now the drivers can use a iPad in the bus, and from in their iPad they could check, okay, was it on the left side or the right side where I can manage the back of the seat or the length of the seat and so forth. So the result of these developments in this bus company was that less seats went broken in the next few months. So they could actually save a lot of money, not buying new seats every month because they weren't broken. But the bus drivers were happy about learning how to use the seats, and then of course the company actually saved money for keeping the seats in order. The other example we used here and helped this cleaning company SOL to help their workers to manage their work even more efficiently was this grocery store. They got also feedback from the clients, from the customers and their supervisors, that some places in the grocery store were not cleaned well enough, or there was some disorders or places that weren't cleaned well enough. So we took with this ThingLink also, we produced this 360 picture and photos of particular places we have to pay more attention to. And so we could make a list of a checklist where you could in the end see that, okay, I've checked under the potato boxes, I have checked the place here with the fruit section, and I have cleaned every part of the surfaces, and also the physical ergonomics was taken care of, so that you can see in the picture how you should keep the tools that you are working with. So and there are many places, as you can see, from 1 to 6 that you should pay more attention to. So these were 2 examples of how we have used ThingLink, and the feedback from the firms that we were working with has been very positive. They have been able to use these videos even after we finished the project, and they have been developing this as well. And hopefully they will produce more guidance and instructions with ThingLink further on. We also use this mobile devices that every one of us have on our mobile. So how to change speech to text and text to speech, and we produce some videos of that. But I think this is basically what we have made with ThingLink, and the presentation I wanted to give to you. And I hope that Louise has some comments and some further ideas of how to continue with this work, and then we learn more about ThingLink from Louise. Thank you.
Thank you, Mervi. And Louise, I will give you the host so you can show your share your screen too. So you are host now.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, that presentation was just fantastic, and to hear your approach about making the workplace more comfortable, more aware, and look at how people can contribute to making it more comfortable for everybody was fantastic. So thanks ever so much for that, Mervi. I really appreciate all the work that you've been doing, and it's actually groundbreaking. If only some other countries and workplaces had that philosophy and that openness to address issues that people are quite uncomfortable discussing. So I really thank you for that, and hopefully I can build on some of your examples and show people a bit more about ThingLink now. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen, and I can share my entire screen. Let's do this one here. Here we go. So hopefully now you can all see my screen. Is that right? Stop me if you can't.
Yes, we can.
Brilliant. And I'm going to share the slides with you. So if everybody wants a copy of my slides, then they are more than welcome to have a copy and go through at their own time and their own leisure as well. So hopefully you can see me now as well. So I'm just going to go through the introduction, and then I'm going to stop and I'm going to ask if there's any questions as well. So if you do want to ask anything at all, pop it in the chat. We'll come back to it. Rika can keep an eye on the chat. But I'm just going to present my slides now. And in my role, I work in education and I work in e-learning as well. And I recently did a master's degree in inclusive digital technologies, and I specialize in accessibility. And prior to working with ThingLink, my background is an educator, and I worked in schools with teachers to show teachers how to work with young people, but with digital tools, but also in workplaces as well. So I worked to train teachers. I also do a lot of work with industry to help industries understand how they can use technology to create a culture of innovation and a culture of connection with their staff. So I don't think you can do that without thinking about everyone's requirements, and hopefully I can show you a bit about what my role has been and ThingLink too. So ThingLink is a key tool in inclusive digital technologies. And in my presentation, I really want you all to try and dismiss what you've learned in the past about what inclusive digital technologies are. And I was just saying to Rika and to Mervi before I came on this call that when I did my master's in inclusive digital technologies, I actually came away not learning. I wanted to challenge everything I saw on the course because it was so traditional. And it was this traditional kind of view that inclusive digital technologies are something we should make available for a few people who present with or have a statement. And we think about teachers and school children, you know, that there are so many people in our population that we don't know what their requirements are, and that really made me think differently about inclusive digital technologies. So in my presentation, I have three chunks. The first chunk is let's look at things differently. The second is some tools that you can use with your staff teams and in your workplaces. And the third chunk is what happens if we knit it all together and we really encourage our staff to use technologies, how they can be inspired to come up with the solutions of the future. So for some of you that haven't used ThingLink before, ThingLink is 10 years old. It's a Finnish company. So it was born out of a requirement, but also the imagination of Ulla Koivula. And she was fascinated with Vygotsky's theory of interaction, which is how we learn through our interactions with our environments, whether they are physical or virtual. And ThingLink is a Microsoft partner and it's a Google partner, which is really important for you to know because that means we integrate with Microsoft Teams, we have access to Immersive Reader, and we also integrate with Google tools as well that really help people. We have about 30 million users each month, and if you use my slides, you'll be able to click on the little video and there's a video there to tell you exactly what it is. But it's used in education, but it's used across all industries, particularly for e-learning, remote training in the cloud, medical uses as well. So we're used a lot in healthcare, real estate, and I can't really think of an industry that doesn't use it. So I'm just going to stop my screen there for a second and I'm going to give you an example. So this is the Finnish water company, and here they have an example, and this is a ThingLink in action. And if I just show you that this is an image that they might use to educate their staff about wastewater treatment plants. And if you click on the hotspots, you can see that they've got an image and they've also got this text. It links out to the website. But what you can also do with this is that you can click on the Immersive Reader icon, and this text is available with text to speech.
Helsinki Region Environmental Services.
But also you can translate this into over 80 different languages. So if we wanted to translate this into Finnish, I can translate that into the document, and again I have text to speech.
Helsingin seudun ympäristö.
But what is also really powerful with Immersive Reader is that you have a picture dictionary. So if I click on environment, there might be individual words, but if I click on waste, you can see that a picture pops up there as well. And you can also change the text preferences, you can change the font, you can also change the theme of the dark, and you've got any combination of those. And that ability to use that tool is built into all of the tags. So essentially what you've done is you've brought this poster or this infographic to life in ways that you couldn't do if you just shared that as a piece of paper or as an image. But what you can also do is to add in 360-degree images as well. So it's a bit like a journey where you can actually go in and experience. And then, of course, you can add in other tags as well, put more video tags in, or even text tags, which again, have got immersive reader. So this is a tool that can actually be used. You can just send the link out to people and they can have an immersive experience of that workplace. And that's just one example. So I'm just going to go back to my presentation. Just wanted to give you a flavour in case you hadn't seen it. So with ThingLink, you can use any kind of media for that base image. So you just saw an infographic. So when you log into ThingLink, you'll get your account page and you can hit the blue button and upload your media. So that means that you can upload images and you can upload a screenshot, for example. So we often think of an image as being a photo, but you can upload a photo, you can upload a screenshot, you can upload a picture of a map, you can put any kind of image there. You can also upload videos. So you can upload a video and then put hotspots in there. And this is a teacher who's introducing his school to both staff who are coming to that school for the first time. So it's an onboarding tool to welcome them. And it's also for pupils who are struggling around transition, that they can go in and explore the workplace before they get there. You can also use 360 video, and this is a Finnish college where the presenter is doing a health and safety video and he's walking around the college and he's put all of the hotspots in. So whilst you might think, well, you know, what's the point of all of this in terms of inclusive digital technologies, is the point is that you can hear, you can see, you can experience something that we've never had the ability to do before unless we've physically been on site. So this is a way, particularly during lockdown, we found that businesses are finding new ways of being able to engage their workers at home with training. But also this is something that's being able to be used for accessibility and trying to make sure that it's accessible to all staff. So that's just an example of some of the ways in which you can create your base image. And it also works with 360 headsets as well. What can you add in your tags? So you can create those text and media tags, but you can also record your audio into the tags. So imagine if you created a tag and you put a video in the tag and used sign language, or even the fact that I'm presenting and I put it in the tag, it has immediate social presence. It has connection with the people that I'm working with or talking to. And you don't need any third-party software to be able to create that. You can add plain text labels, but you can also embed other apps and tools as well. So you might want to embed things like a Padlet, which is a collaborative tool. You might want to embed other documents. You might want to embed other types of websites, for example, or helpful places to go. And then you can link it all together. So that's just a little bit about what ThingLink is. But you can also create custom icons. So you saw those tags. And this is a high street in just outside London. and the person that made this wanted to show people with accessibility requirements how to cope with a high street situation and know where the hand sanitizers were, where you had to wear masks. And they created this, and you can see that the icons are really, really clear. They're really explicit. And how helpful is this for the whole population to understand? But it's been made accessible, and you can click on the tags and it's got the text, which opens up into immersive reader. So just by the very nature of using multimedia, we're starting to create accessible materials. So ThingLink, as I mentioned, has the ability to embed other tools. So you might want to put in 3D objects you can put into the tags as well. Flipgrid is very popular for creating videos, Wakelet for sharing bookmarks, but we also integrate with other LMS systems. So you are able to integrate with Microsoft Teams, share on social media, whatever way you want to use to do this. So you can share your ThingLinks out, and they work on any device. That was the other point I was going to make as well. So let's look at technology a little bit differently. And the reason I put this was because on my degree course, which I told you about, which wasn't great, they said that this was the definition of inclusive digital technologies, and that we should be providing technology for people with these kinds of conditions that were being presented. And I was like, really? Are you sure? That's not why I'm here. That's not what I believe. And actually, how many people have learned to cope with their accessibility requirements because they're too embarrassed to say that they have dyslexia or they struggle? And how many people have gone through school because their parents don't want them to get a statement or to have that acknowledged? People from all populations, all generations. We can never assume that everybody in our audience doesn't have an accessibility requirement. We should always just try and make sure that we're accommodating everybody. So why are we not just being inclusive in the way that we work? So why don't we, instead of thinking of inclusive digital technologies, think about creating an inclusive digital culture and making sure that the tools that we are using and the ways that we are working are accessible to everybody. So as I've mentioned, you've got the immersive reader that's baked in, and this is another example where hospitals are teaching staff the insides of the cardiac unit. This is the example here, and everything is labelled, and this is given to staff before they go into work so that they can feel comfortable about going into that unit for the first time. And this is being used by universities to teach medical students as well. And having that immersive reader means we're not assuming that everyone has English as their first language. We're not assuming that everyone can understand what we're saying. But by having the audio, the recording, the video, we're opening up different media so that people have all of these options. There we go. So what do you want to bring to life and make accessible? So it isn't just about a physical 360, but why have a poster on a wall which is about health and safety and assume that people can read it? Why don't we bring that poster to life by making a digital version and then having a QR code on the poster on the wall that people can scan and then bring up on their phones, and they're able to interact with that information? And it's so much more powerful when you can hear someone explaining a poster and the points to it than just reading it. Making our workspaces more accessible, as you've seen with the map and the tour. But also, as Mervy pointed out, why don't we ask people for feedback about what they're seeing as well? So you could use the embed tag to put a question form in, and it's an instant research tool, and making sure that we're asking staff for feedback about what they're seeing. And then, of course, by using 360 video of a workplace, we can also look at it from different views as well. So people are encouraged to try and explore a situation from lots of different viewpoints as well. So my third point was about knitting it all together. How can we really make it easier for everybody? So most tools now will have accessibility features built in, but are we really showing staff how to use the accessibility features that are actually in our computers or iPads? And there are lots of ways that we can do that. So we can think about, things that we have with no technology. So we think about the body language, or maybe verbal cues, or paper-based onboarding, which is no technology. But if we add a bit of technology into that, we can make it much more powerful by using images, audio and video to introduce new staff. And if we encourage our staff to be able to use the text-to-speech or record or dictation, then we can use these in our presentations to other staff. We think about low technology, how we use posters and symbols, signs and colours. How about making those posters come to life? And then you could have symbols and tools built into those readers as well. And then, of course, there is high technology, which is assistive, augmentative communication tools. So why not think about having conversational interfaces we can build? What if we all think about the future and what we can do with technology? So thinking about instructions, here's some really nice examples, and we've put the bus instructions in there as well. So if we can have these tags, we can give people instructions which are much more easier to understand and to make them accessible. So having, the ability to use screencast on a device to make instructions, for example. We could also leave feedback for people verbally on their computers as well. So in a document, putting a link that takes you to a voice note, for example. There are so many ways in which we can use technologies built into the thing links as well, as I mentioned. And once you start to inspire your staff to use these technologies, you make them available, I can guarantee you that they will start to come up with the solutions of the future. We think about a phone to be able to take images. You can even take 360 images with a Google Street View. And what I found with some companies that I've worked with, that if you show people what they can do with 360 and the ability to use the tools available to them, then they can come up with the solutions of the future. And remember that the typewriter, books on tape, closed captions, and voice controls were created by people with accessibilities, but now they are just the things that we use all the time in our lives. Typewriters, voice controls, we think about the Internet of Things. If you show people how to use the tools that I've been talking about, they will come up with the breakthrough technologies of the future. And this is how you create your culture of innovation. I've been absolutely amazed at some of the examples I've seen that have come from people who thought they were being shown an accessibility tool, but actually they've realized it can help everybody in the company if they created a 360 of how to work the machinery, or a 360 that would help with onboarding new staff. And it's these kinds of things that will have an impact. And if you take Mervy's approach with the support and creating a culture of comfort where we're not just talking about accessibility requirements for a few people, but for the many, and you provide the right tools, then you will be able to create a culture of innovation. So that's probably enough from me. I'm going to stop now and ask if there's any questions. So I think I'm just going to stop my share and yeah, back to you, Rika.
Thank you, Louise. What a great! I'm here, so happy. There's been a quite good conversation here. First, Vasiliki asked, well, maybe it's more about our presentation and the terms that we used. I think when we try to translate our terms from Finnish to English, and I think there are many terms that are using. Mervi, do you have some comments for Vasiliki? Because Vasiliki asked, do you think the impact term learning difficulties on people's perception on that actually is, and how it influences work environment, especially when it's thought of a children's issue? And this is the issue that we came along to. Or Vasiliki, do you want to speak yourself first?
Yeah, I can make the question. I know that it's a little bit complicated, but I faced a lot of times that because of the name of learning difficulty or disability, they think that it's only for children and it's only for learning. And for example, in my case is focusing in a meeting with many people and try to be structured on what to say, like now that I have thought about the question for the last 45 minutes to say it. So I understood from the way that you presented that you needed to rationalize that we have learning environments in work, while it's not only in the learning environments, it's the process of information. So I wonder if this is an impact of the language, or it's just that people don't know.
Yeah, that is a very good question, and very important to discuss this matter, because we wanted to address the problems at workplace and which adults are facing, and we gave very much information about. We discussed a lot about this. It's not only that you have learning problems, learning difficulties, or dyslexia, dyscalculia at school, and then you leave it behind you when you start working as an adult. It's not the case, because it's in you, and you carry the package with you all along. And but we wanted to we did not want to talk about learning disorders. There is a Finnish expression for that also, but we wanted to avoid that. Because as today, working, like I mentioned, the working life and the work itself is in change and demanding from everybody new it's giving everybody new challenges, using technology, digital equipments, etc., and platforms and whatever. So we all are challenged by keeping up with the learning challenges we have. It's not only that we might have some neurological learning difficulty or dyslexia, but the rush, the stress, the demands we get all over is hard for everybody. So these assistive tools actually help everybody, and that was our message, that not only people with dyslexia can make use of these, but it helps everybody. And this awareness was important also for workplaces and the employers to understand that if we want to, as a company, keep up with the development of the world around us, so we need to help the workers, our workers, to keep up with the continuous learning as we are talking today. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then Roger had question how to get the workers to overcome the stigma or prejudice about dyslexia or dyscalculia, and then admit they need some support. And Mervi answered that also. Do you want to say something more about that, Mervi, or do you want to comment, Roger? If you want, you can share your screen and voice too.
Yeah, well, I could, to Roger, I would like to hear your comments as well. But we have this experience that, first of all, to the whole working community, as there were 30 people in our presentation taking part in. So they listened very carefully. About the presentation, about the basic information of dyslexia and learning difficulties. How do they occur at workplace? What challenges might occur if you have a learning disorder? And in this broader perspective, as I talked before. And then and our basic information, we try to put it simple and clear. So people actually started to, if we ask, do you know somebody, your parents, your children, your relatives, your colleagues, who might have, you have noticed that might have this kind of challenges? And then they started to say, yeah, actually, I have been thinking that this might be the reason for yeah. So, but your question, Roger, was that the person himself or herself, how do we raise the awareness? There is our colleague Marjo Nurmi has been doing research on this for 20 years. She has been working with the workers in metal industry, and she realized that these mainly men who participate in her courses, as she's a teacher, are so clever, are so intelligent, they have all the capabilities of learning, but they have difficulties in expressing themselves. They have a very low self-esteem. And so she talks about this self-efficacy, if I pronounce it right. And if one person has these hard experiences from school, making mistakes, being punished, so the self-efficacy is very low. And with the dialogue, you can slowly but supportively start to raise this self-efficacy, to talk about the good outcomes, the good results, and the impact that they actually have been doing all along in their lives. What are their strengths? Starting from the strengths and building up with that. I hope this gave you some answer.
Yeah, it did, Mervi. Thank you very much. Thanks very much to the presenters, excellent presenters, and thank you for the invitation from Heli, from the I think the Finnish dyslexia group, and that's why I attended. I'm from the Dyslexia Institute UK, and I think it's a really important issue that you're looking to address, with how do we get adults who've through all their lives they've never discovered that they're dyslexic, or they've hidden their dyslexia or dyscalculia because of shame and the stigma and the prejudice that's around the subject. Still, it's 2020 and we're still having these conversations that people feel embarrassed about being just a bit different. That's all it is just being a bit different. And I think conversations that you're having, and Louise, the tech that you're looking to bring in to the workplace to really empower the individual and make them feel more comfortable at work and the jobs that they're doing, is brilliant. But I still think we've got a long way to go to get the vast majority. We've got to remember, dyslexia affects 20% of the population. 10% dyslexia, 5% dyscalculia, then we've got dyspraxia and dysgraphia. It's a big number of our population. And the problem when these individuals are not comfortable with who they are, then they cause problems for themselves and for the community, and they don't achieve what they can achieve. Dyslexic people can achieve brilliant things. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, the list is endless. We need to learn to, we need as a society in general to take away that stigma and to take away that feeling of inadequacy just because you're a little bit different. You're great, you're just a little bit different. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to applaud you, praise you for what you're doing. It's huge steps in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose Chair.
That's just such, I'm so glad that, you know, you brought that up. And, you know, having kind of worked in education, it's absolutely heartbreaking when you see people have spent their lives actually not realizing or covering something up, and how we can create an environment for the future that people feel comfortable in. And I genuinely think this starts in education and schools adopting the approaches that we've said. And I think technology has advanced a lot, and the use of technology, particularly this year, I mean, COVID and lockdown has been a real eye-opener for people who traditionally said, I don't do technology, and they felt that it was almost like a get-out clause to say, although I'm a teacher, I don't do technology, I don't believe in it. Or they kind of say, oh, I'm a Luddite, you know, I can't use it. And then it's gone to show that lockdown and COVID was almost like a kick up the arse of change, that teachers suddenly had to start using it. And the technology companies are trying to build these things in as standard. So immersive readers built into documents. I'm on a Chromebook today that's got dictation tools built in. And that's been a small step, but it's a step in the right direction. And I think we have a real responsibility now not to say, well, let's go back to normal and go back to how we've done it before, but say, look at what we've achieved actually in this year, last year, in trying to create more inclusive environments with technology. We know we can do it. There's no excuse for not doing it. Let's not do the worst thing possible. That's just go back to what it's been up till now. And I think we've all got a part to play in keeping challenging that and making sure that, you know, we don't reverse progress. But I'm quite heartened by the progress that I've seen this year from the technology companies and from teachers who have got on and started using it. And I was saying this to Rika and to Murphy before this call, that the quality of materials that have come out this year from teachers for remote learning has been great. And I know that it's not a solution, but it's a step in the right direction. But to change and go back would be a real shame. We've got to keep the momentum up. But thank you for your comments.
Thank you, everyone. It's been so nice, and we are a little bit over time, but if you have some questions, please ask, and I'll send that a link to the chat. If you could give us some feedback from this webinar, how did you feel about it? Because it's important to us. This is our first international webinar, so how we did, and please give us feedback. It would be really, really good for us. But if you have some questions, I have a little bit time. What about Luis and Mervi? Do you have, and please ask if you have some questions about ThingLink or these subjects that we asked. But let's see if there's any more questions.
I don't have any questions, but I do just want to make an offer. You know, do get in touch with us. Do keep in touch with us. We're on Twitter. I'm at Scotland Louise at ThingLink or at thinglink_edu. You can have a trial for free. I know I'm not just here to to pitch it. I genuinely believe in the product. I genuinely believe that it's the nicest tool out there. But you know, I'm not in sales, but you know, if you want to go and have a look at it, then do go and have a look and reach out to us. And I'm always happy to talk to anybody. You're more than welcome to get in touch with me at any point. Mervy will put our details out, and Rika will put our details out.
Yeah, and I will send you a link if you are registered, and I will give you, Roger, the materials through Heli. Mervi, do you have something that you want to say?
Not really, but please, if you have any questions on the material to sujuvaksi.fi, please go and search for different kind of ideas, tips, and information there. It's a very large material. It takes hours for you to go through it. So take some time and look at it. And if you have any questions or comments on that, you may gladly contact me or Rika on those questions. And yes, we had very good cooperation with these companies that helped us to utilize ThingLink, help and helping workers to keep up with the change of work. So I really recommend to study the ThingLink as a useful assistive tool. It's easy to use. Rika is an expert on that. She can give you some good advice. And yeah, so let's keep up this conversation on continuous learning at workplaces and how to help everybody to hang on with it.
Thank you, Mervi. And thank you everyone that participated this webinar. We are very, very happy. And I think it's time to say happy weekend to everyone. Try to relax and take care of yourself.
Thank you, Rika. Thank you from me. Lovely
Thank you, Louise and Rika. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.